Podcast, Carolina Wrestling Podcast, Carolina Wrestling Podcast, Carolina Wrestling Podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a brand new edition and a brand new episode of the Carolina Wrestling Podcast. I am the host, that guy, Trey Morgan, and I'm alongside my two brand new podcast partners here at the Carolina Wrestling Podcast. Gentlemen, I have the fallen artist, Derk Martin, and I also have Hot Mike Joel Avery. Guys, welcome to the show. Thank y'all for joining me here on the Carolina Wrestling Podcast.
Oh, thank you for letting us come on with this. This was your baby. This was your child back in the day. And you joined me on my baby on Next Level Pro Wrestling Commentary. So when you said, "Hey, you want to come join me and revitalize this podcast?" I was like, "Heck yeah, I'm down."
Oh yeah, absolutely. Derk, thank you for coming on. You joined us at Next Level Pro Wrestling in our commentary team, and we kicked it off real good. And there was no other person that I thought would be a better third to be here on the podcast than you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us at Next Level Pro Wrestling and the Carolina Wrestling Podcast team. Are y'all ready to have some fun here?
Oh, let's get this party started, man.
Man, this is going to be so fun. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Carolina Wrestling Podcast. It's going to be a little bit different than it was. A lot of times you're going to see Derk and you're going to see Joel and myself right here, but every once in a while you may see some live guests that we have sitting in with us at a table. So you never know who's going to be. So I want to make sure that you check us out here in the future and what we got going on for the Carolina Wrestling Podcast. First, I'm that guy, Trey Morgan. I've been a ring announcer for almost 10 years here in North Carolina with Wrestling with Purpose, Next Level Pro Wrestling, ALW, American Lucha Wrestling up in Burlington, North Carolina, are my current companies that I currently work for. I'm here and excited to share my story and my journey and what I've been going through in pro wrestling here. I know you guys are excited as well. So, Derk, let's introduce yourself as well.
I'm the fallen artist, Dirk Douglas, half of former BD Productions, multi-time tag team champions, former Ring Wars Carolina tag team champions, C4W tag team champions, UPWA tag team champions, APW tag team champions, ACW tag team champions. I am 11-time tag team champions. So been retired for a few years, and now I just kind of talk. I've been doing stand-up comedy, and with my band Echo Vibe, I've been trying to sing. But I'm glad to be back in the wrestling world. I've been away for way too long. And it's great to see you, Joel. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while, man. In fact, the last time you and I saw each other, if I'm not mistaken, it was when you and I faced off against each other in a tag match. Because, spoiler alert, haven't said this too much publicly, but if y'all remember a certain masked wrestler ran around here looking like a little wolf, 150 pounds soaking wet back then, yeah, Jay Wolf, that was me. Been in the wrestling business 8 years now. Got my start with Hang Time, Tony James over at RWC. Went with him and convinced him, was one of the people who initially convinced him to open up 2-6 Wrestling Academy. I've been there ever since. I've wrestled everywhere across North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia. Traveled up and down the East Coast. I've even wrestled one of the biggest luchadors in Mexico. Got an offer to go to Mexico, which apparently is still standing, by the way. So I might not be actively wrestling at the moment since I've transitioned into more of a production side of things with wrestling, but apparently that offer still stands. I talked to him just a couple weeks ago, and he said, anytime, just say the word, and I will get you down here to Mexico. So who knows? Jay Wolf might make a one-off return south of the border.
Yeah, so we might see you south of the border, but
maybe.
Well, we're guaranteed that we're going to see you at, Joel, and we're going to start.
Well, we're guaranteed. Guaranteed. I can tell you that's going to be July 11th at True Vine Ministries for Next Level Pro Wrestling's next event, which I figured that might as well be the perfect place to start off, considering that's been my home promotion. You know, like I said, I've been following Hang Time from the beginning. He's been my mentor. He's been my big brother. And I wouldn't be anywhere in wrestling without him, honestly. Without Hang Time, there never would be a Jay Wolf, a Hot Mike. I never would have got as far as I've gotten so far. and we're coming back around for Stars and Stripes here on July 11th at True Vine Ministries, and I'm looking forward to this one because, granted, I believe Trey, you said you're not going to be there for this one, unfortunately. So
I said, hold on. Wait. We're going to clear the air real quick. You said, I said that I'm not going to be there. That's not what happened.
I recall
now
something else happening.
Look, I was trying to protect you here, Trey. I was trying to protect you here, okay? But look, you can't go yelling at your boss and saying crazy sideways stuff and not expect something to happen. I mean, like it or not, Commissioner Roman McIntyre is your boss, and you kind of went off on him. To be fair,
I think
I
Trey
love
was
you.
right.
I love you. You're my commentary brother, but I gotta call a spade now.
That's
Yeah,
all right.
I can't.
I didn't say that I'm not going to be there. I was suspended by Commissioner Roman McIntyre because he wanted to stick his nose where it didn't belong, and I just called him out on it. And he got a little soft-hearted and didn't want to face the facts that I was telling the truth. So he just said, "Oh, you're going to be arrested if you show up to the next show." So.
Not to mention that $500 fine.
I don't want to get arrested, so I'm just not going to be there. I'll take my talents elsewhere, and you'll find out later where I'll be on Saturday.
So Derk, it's just going to be you and me at this one on the 11th, but this one should be fun and interesting. Still, it's Next Level Pro Wrestling.
We were just there, and that was my first Next Level event that I've been a part of. And it was great. I had an amazing time, but I've got to agree with Trey. I was there. This was my first time being there.
You weren't there. You weren't at the table when this happened. You were backstage.
I did watch from backstage. I saw what happened.
There you go. Go ahead. Tell the truth.
I was brought in. I was called. They said, "Hey, want to come do commentary?" And I'm sitting there. He comes. He taps me on my shoulder. He's like, "Hey, get up." He leave. I'm like, "All right." And then I saw him hand someone a title. Is that not what happened? Is in the first.
Well, you know what? That's a good segue. That's a good segue because let's peel back the curtain a little bit now because you two are about to go nuts here. But I actually did want to talk about that. The last event we had at True Vine Ministries, highlight of the night for a lot of people. Many people said it was match of the night. Kwame Anansi versus RJ Epps for the Next Level Pro Wrestling social media title. A lot of reasons that I thought that was incredible and I was super proud of it. One, it's the very first storyline that I have actually produced. It's my first time working on a storyline from the other side of the curtain because I had pitched this idea to Hang Time months ago about, hey, we hadn't really done many storylines in a long time. We got something. Obviously, Kwameer's fantastic. He's been in this business longer than any of us. And the dude is a perfect example of how to be a professional wrestler and how to be a heel especially. Because he just naturally knows how to get a crowd to hate him without crossing that not safe for work, family friendly line. You know, he's a good. And honestly, in a lot of ways, you could compare him. He's a modern George South, because George South was very similar. He didn't have to go ridiculous and cuss every other word and say something vulgar-esque to a kid or something to get heat on him. He was just that good of a worker. Kwameer, in a lot of ways, is similar. He's that good of a worker. So I was like, hey, we got something here. And then at the same time, RJ and a bunch of other guys had just come from up the road, if you will, and had joined Next Level. And he was catching fire as this super likable underdog babyface, you know. And I was like, hey, you know what? We got something here with this. Why don't we let RJ work a little bit more, see how his work holds up, see how his performance is, and whether or not he's putting in the work, not just in the ring at shows, but at training, flyering, promoting, and all that other stuff. And he just, without even knowing anything, or regardless of whether or not the storyline was even being pitched, he was there every single time, setting up, tearing down, putting flyers out, putting in the work at training, putting on good matches at the shows. And Tony said, all right, let's hear your pitch and let's see what you got. Because at this point, Kwameer was the longest reigning social media champion in the company's history. No one had even remotely come close to him in terms of a title reign. I think he went over 400-something days.
Over 450 days.
Yeah, over 400 days as champion. He was And that's, again, that speaks to Cormier. To hold a title for that long in wrestling in this day and age, that speaks to how good you are if the promoter is more than comfortable to let you continue to hold his title for that long.
And
So,
the heat that Cormier could draw
oh yes.
just by coming out. He comes out to the ring. Me being a former ring announcer, and I've been in the ring numerous times and heard
Yep.
and just heard the way the audience responds back to Cormier just as soon as he walks out the curtain. He gets those boos, and then Cormier's not happy with the respect that he's getting from the fans. So he asked the ring announcer, tell them that they deserve to give me the respect that I deserve, and come out, and he does his entrance again, and he gets an even bigger pop of boos.
Oh yeah, because now you're
And
outright telling the crowd, no, you're gonna do this.
Right.
Because I've always been told wrestling is like spoon feeding the audience. You got to spoon feed them. So, and Cormier gets that to a T. So he knows, all right, they're already booing me this much. Let's one up it. Now I'm gonna get mad at them for not giving me the reaction I deserve. I deserve your respect and admiration. You're gonna give it to me, and you're gonna give it to me when I go back through that curtain and I come out here again. Well, naturally, you just insulted the crowd and told them what to do. Well, guess what? Now I'm going to not do that.
You're not going to tell me what to do. So
exactly.
Right.
And I've always said a great heel is what it usually takes to make a good baby face, at least at the start. Because if you have a heel go out there like Cormier does, and he does that, it doesn't matter who's coming out next. Whoever's coming out next is about to get a huge cheer because the crowd now wants to see somebody knock this guy upside his teeth. So,
yeah.
And
absolutely.
also one other thing I learned from this storyline that was pitched, it really goes to show you how much the title card's subject to change, what it really means. It doesn't just mean that, oh, someone who's advertised on the show couldn't make it this time. Like, I really learned what that means with this storyline. Because what if I told you, while the end goal was achieved and they more than delivered, beyond even my wildest dreams and everyone could have expected with getting the title on RJ at the end, how we got there completely changed. Because the original storyline, it was going to involve multiple one-on-one matches, which in hindsight probably wouldn't have been the best idea because then people would have gotten tired and stale of it a lot quicker. But it would have involved Cormier defending the title once or twice, but doing so through nefarious means to where the commissioner is like, no, you're not going to keep getting away with this, and he'd give RJ another chance. And by the second or third time, it was going to involve, we were going to have Bobby Wolfert get involved. And for those who don't know, Bobby Wolfert essentially holds the Next Level Pro Wrestling equivalent to Money in the Bank. He has the George Hazard Memorial Thomas Trophy that he can cash in on any title, anywhere, anytime at Next Level. Even champions that aren't of Next Level, but if they show up to a Next Level event, he can cash in on them for a title shot. And so the original pitch was, during that coup de grace title shot for RJ, right before he was going to win it, bam, out comes Bobby, turns it in, like, straight up Seth Rollins, WrestleMania 31, heist of the century style, steals the title away. And then it was going to take a break for a month or two and then have RJ circle back. But one of the first there was two big reasons why that version of the story didn't pan out. First, outside professional life, Bobby works a lot. He has a very high demanding job that requires his attention. So naturally, he'd let you know in advance what shows he will and will not be able to make. And we were like, he's not going to be around enough for this early onset for this part of the story to work. So that had to change. And the other big change was RJ was already on the rise, but through the first couple of interactions with Cormier, he really caught fire. Like, he started to take off like a rocket. And I remember Hangtime pulled me to the side after one of our shows where Cormier and RJ had faced each other in fact, I think it was a tag match. Because it was after RJ became the number one contender, and we were like, okay, we want to throw them into a tag match. So it's showing that Cormier's getting out of defending the title tonight, but he still has to face RJ. So he has someone come out to the ring and get the jump on him and say, well, if anyone back there is bold enough to come tag with you, they can come get this beating too. And then a babyface comes out. They just have a quick tag match and move on. RJ caught fire that night. But the other thing that came out of this was also something interesting was we discovered a new duo that we didn't expect, but it added so much more to the storyline. And to me, it was the underrated MVP, and that was James Lee. Because James Lee was the heel who came out to help Kwamir, beat down RJ until a babyface, I think it was Chris Weaver, came out and made the save. They had a tag match. RJ pins Kwamir in the tag match. So now we're setting up, hey, RJ did it. He just pinned the champion in a non-title match. He can do it. This guy can do what no one else has managed to do and beat Kwamir for that title. But at the same time, we also discovered through watching the match, because I was sitting there on commentary calling this match, and in the back of my head, I'm sitting here thinking, man, James and Kwamir work so well together. Like, they just have a very good natural chemistry together. James Lee is, like, he's a relatively new up-and-comer in wrestling as well. He's only been in the business, like, a couple years. But he has a grasp on character work, cutting promos and letting your character work speak for itself, rather than trying to do 1,000 maneuvers in 5 minutes to try to get over it. He lets his character work and his promos do the talking, and it speaks for itself. So I was like, ooh, you know what? I'm going to pitch this to these guys and see if they like it. And I went and talked to them after the match. I was like, hey, I know this was supposed to be just a one-off thing just for y'all to be thrown together. And then, James, you go off and do whatever else, for the next, few shows and whatnot. But I'm like, I feel like y'all got something here, mate. Do you want to try to incorporate this? And they were like, nah, man, I agree. I feel like there is something here. Let's run with it a little bit more and see what we get. And just James being in the storyline now and because he's got a mind for writing out stories and pitching ideas. And he added so much more to the storyline for the last couple months that it ran, to the point that by the time we got to that blow-off match, again, just showing proper good heel work and how to get heat without doing nothing ridiculous and crazy move-wise or not safe for work environment-wise. The whole point of the pre-ultimate match, which was a handicap match, RJ versus Kwamir and James. If RJ won, James would be banned from ringside. Bam, he gets a full one-on-one match. No James Lee interference from ringside. Emphasis on the from ringside, because lo and behold, what does that end up leading to in the blow-off match? Oh, you didn't say anything about a special guest referee. James comes out, unzips the golden jacket, revealing a Next Level Pro Wrestling referee shirt, being an intentionally biased ref, now stacking the cards against the...
Excuse me?
Here we go again.
Unbiased. Called it down the middle.
Derek, in case you didn't hear, I know you didn't hear it because it was Roman at the table at the time, but last time I checked, I don't think 75-25 is even. And those are the exact numbers he gave. That's right, the exact numbers he gave. And even then, I feel like that's generous for how James was calling. But then again, that was the point, because it got the crowd more riled up. The fact that these guys found an underhanded way once again to usurp, RJ's efforts, to the point when Roman gets in there and he's had enough of all this shenanigans, and then James puts his hands on Roman. People forget that Roman's also a wrestler. He's not shabby in the ring himself. So when
his nose where it don't belong.
He's the commissioner. How is it not his business?
He had a referee in the match. The referee wasn't down.
Nope.
He wasn't taken out.
I agree. I
can tell I'm gonna be outnumbered.
Hold on. Let the man speak.
So by somebody that when the match started, I walked away. Right. I walked away. I walked outside for a minute, and I came back in, and all I saw. This is my first time see. I knew who Kwamir was. I've known him for years, and so from what I saw was just a ref in the ring, right? When the commissioner jumped in, I didn't really see a reason for him to jump in. It kind of came off as he was the heel. I thought he was the heel.
Well, if you weren't in catering in the back, you would have seen why he had to jump in there. If you weren't back there in catering, you would have seen what happened and why the commissioner needed to get involved. But point
Speaking of
being,
that,
the
catering.
point
There
being,
was that's a shoot. There was catering.
There was catering
yeah.
back.
There
Hey,
was
shout out.
catering.
Hey. While we're talking about catering, shout out Billy Cruz, man. Shout out Billy for
Shout out
feeding us at
Billy
all these
for
events.
the catering, man. We love you, brother.
Oh yeah, love you, Billy. But yeah, so the blow off to the match, RJ hitting that beautiful frog splash, the 1, 2, 3. That
pretty.
was Oh yeah. I'm not gonna lie, RJ, dude. You might want to
pretty.
consider using that frog splash as a secondary finish. Not gonna lie, it's pretty. It's very
It
pretty.
was nice. It was nice.
But
I hate the
feel good.
outcome. I hate the outcome, but it was a beautiful frog splash. He got the 1, 2, 3, brand new Next Level Pro Wrestling social media champion.
Which I'm definitely going to try our best to get him on here, talk a little bit more and learn a little bit more about RJ, because he still is a relatively new face to me, because I've only really known him ever since he came to Next Level a little over a year ago with some of the other guys. And speaking of some of those other guys, let's talk about some of those guys. Like a lot of new names that came over at the Lumberton event a little over a year ago. We had Dragonfly Marcus Damon come
That's
down.
the name. Yeah, that's the name that I was going to say. Like
He's
right
a star.
Number
He
one.
is a star.
He's another one of those guys that he wants to develop more so character again, because I feel like in this modern age of wrestling, it's kind of diluted characters in favor of how many double corkscrew moonsault backflip Canadian destroyers can I do, instead of, okay, well, who are you? What is your character? What am I meant to
But
get?
how
from the
much
moment you
money
step
has
out?
Danhausen made in the past 3 months?
There you go.
Exactly. He's literally had what, 2 matches, 3 matches,
Yep.
maybe, and
Yep.
he's been very simple with it. But he's just worked his character, and he's one of the most popular acts on WWE TV today, and
Yep.
it's all character work. Same thing with, like, people might say, "Oh, well, that's a comedy gimmick." Okay, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is another one
All
of those guys.
character.
It is all character work as
All
the
character.
tribal chief. Because if you watch his matches, they're basic, they're simple. How often does Roman do anything remotely crazy? Like, how many crazy bumps does he take, and how many crazy bumps does he make his opponent take?
Right. Yeah.
Hardly any.
Roman's not doing a whole lot of work anymore.
No, and he doesn't need to. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he
it
doesn't
doesn't have
need
to. Doesn't have to.
Right. Right.
And that's what leads to a long, career and longevity, is by not killing yourself, by doing these crazy, ridiculous spots. Which I'm not saying that style overall is a bad thing. There's a niche for that, just like there's a niche for everything in wrestling. There's a reason death matches are popular. There's a reason hard-hitting New Japan style matches are popular. There's a reason Lucha Libre is popular. That's the beautiful thing about wrestling. You've got whatever style works best for you, but just overall, collectively, it always makes sense where if you have a style based more so on character and standard wrestling that makes sense, that you can tell a story with, in general, people are more invested in that as opposed to how many moves you can do.
Dragonfly is worth a lot more money than someone that would just not buy wrestling gear and just wrestling jeans and a t-shirt and go out there and bump on thumbtacks and grow one of those stupid porn mustaches. He's worth a lot more money than that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
And not only him, but you also got that same night Roman McIntyre came down.
Mhm.
We had who else did we have come that night? We had RJ, we had Dragonfly, we had Stone Cold Steve Harvey. That's another
Oh
one.
man,
Steve Harvey.
money.
See-
money.
Now here's the thing about Stone Cold Steve Harvey. Derk, you and I knew him as a different name. In
I
fact,
did.
we knew him under 2 different names. We knew him as first it was Mama's Boy, which Trey, I
Which
don't
was
know,
money.
do you recall? Did you ever
No.
see?
No, I don't
So
know.
Mama's Boy, because he has, because if you take away the mustache that he wears, he has a very much a childlike, exuberant baby face, especially back then, because this was like what, over 10 years ago,
Oh, dude.
something like that. So because he had this baby face-esque look, he would wear a giant onesie,
Onesie.
and he was basically a giant child. It was
It
weird,
was
but
hilarious.
it was a comedy
Absolutely
gimmick, but it was a comedy
hilarious.
gimmick that was over. And then the second gimmick, which is the one that I mostly knew him as, was when he was in a tag team.
Yeah.
What was it called? It was
Uh,
God, what was that
Um,
tag team called?
Team Sexy, something like
Team,
that.
Yeah, I think it was Team Sexy. Yeah,
Team
because it
Sexy.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because that's when he was going by Mr. Magnificent.
Mr. Magnificent. Yeah.
Yeah, he was Mr. Magnificent, one half of Team Sexy.
And Sweet Daddy D.
Yep, that's it. That was
Sweet
it.
It was
Daddy D,
very
Mr.
much
Magnificent.
character based, and they were the gimmick. It was funny. They were good in the ring,
Yep.
right? Everything was solid, but you would work towards the crowd pops, and the crowd pops didn't have to come from you almost breaking your neck.
And even now, with what he does
Right.
as, granted, I feel like there might be a potential lawsuit on his hands if Steve Harvey was to ever look at this and be like, "Who the hell is this over here acting like me in a wrestling ring with Stone Cold Steve Austin?"
He would love it.
But yeah, he probably would. He probably would give it his blessing.
But
But
who wouldn't want to get a picture with him, right? You go to
oh, everyone wants a
it's
picture with Stone Cold Steve Harvey. I mean,
And it's a mixture of
it's
Stone
money.
Cold Steve Austin and Steve Harvey from the Family Feud. Like, it's absolutely great. I love it. The fans love it.
and it's
You
kind
know,
of like you
he
said. It's kind of like you said a minute ago about people who don't get proper gear and don't actually look the part, don't invest in themselves.
Mhm.
Stone Cold Steve Harvey has literally gone out of his way to replicate a Family Feud card. And because he's trying to combine both Stone Cold Steve Austin and Steve Harvey. So what does he do? He'll do a survey says, and then the crowd responds with the Stone Cold what chant.
what?
Exactly. And I even remember backstage, I remembered seeing the thing, but it didn't have anything written on it. He's like, I wasn't able to print anything on it. I said, do you have a white paint marker? He said, yeah. I said, here, give it here real quick. And I remember just sitting in the gorilla position real quick, and with a permanent white marker, I made sure to write a very large eligible what. So that way, if the card ever got shown face up to the crowd, they would see that survey indeed did say what.
Survey says what? Yeah.
But now, Next Level Pro Wrestling's not the only hot commodity right now, because another promotion, the one that you could say is your home promotion there, Trey G, Wrestling
You
with
called me
Purpose.
Trey G. That I'll take that honor, and you call me
Yeah.
Trey G.
I said Trey G because again
I love
that
it.
was my
So,
that was my lead in, because again we got way too many Treys. We got a Trey G, Trey Morgan, Trey's Genovese.
I'm not even gonna be
But
upset or cuss you out, Joel, because you called me Trey G. I'm gonna take that honor with high regard.
yeah,
So
at least
thank you
I
very
gave
much.
you an honorable comparison there, because
Yeah, I'll take
uh
that.
fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, Trey G, the indie icon, is getting ready to retire from in-ring
Oh yeah.
competition, which it's bittersweet, because I remember when I first left a bad situation in wrestling. I left a bad company run by a shady individual, uh, and I followed Tony, and we got when he was getting ready to start up 2-6. The very first promotion that I went to that wasn't this other place, it was Wrestling with Purpose. I went there for the first time. I met Baron and I met Trey G right off the bat, and as soon as I told him I was one of Tony's guys, and this goes to show the reputation of a man like Tony. The second I say that I'm one of his students, immediately, oh, hey, well, welcome to have you. We're glad you're here. We don't have a spot for you on the show tonight, unfortunately, but I mean, hey, we'll gladly bring you on for the next one, yada yada. Uh, and they welcomed me with open arms to Wrestling with Purpose right away. And sure enough, and this is Indie Wrestling 101 for anyone out there who's new to this. Always bring your gear, even if you're not on the show, and just have it in your car just in case, because something like this can happen. I'm sitting,
Also, make sure you bring your stuff.
Yep.
and that goes for everyone, not just wrestlers, referees, ring announcers, security, everything. You never know, because as I'm sitting by one of my friends' merch table, who I was just there to, watch and support her and check out this new promotion, Baron and Trey G come up to me and they're like, "Hey, one of our guys couldn't make it. We have a spot in this opening tag match. Do you have your gear?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've got my gear." He said, "Well, hey, if you want to go grab it and throw it on, man, we'll put you in the match." And that was my first time performing in front of a large, proper crowd because the place where I was at, like I said, because shady business practices leads to, you know, shady business overall. And I hadn't never performed in front of a crowd more than like 40 people at this time. So here I am coming into Wrestling with Purpose where they actually put a lot more effort into the production value of the show. They had commentary. In fact, Trey Morgan, I think you were one of the two guys on commentary that night, doubling as the ring announcer. With, if I remember correctly, Curtis Cash was the other
Yes.
guy on commentary that night. And I debuted at Wrestling with Purpose that night 8 years ago almost in front of, what was it, 250, 300 people? That was,
Something like that.
yeah, by far the biggest crowd I had ever performed in front of at that time. And I owe that plus every other big crowd at WWP that I ever got to perform at, in part due to Baron and Trey G. In fact, all the times I've ran into Trey G in the locker room, if I'm not mistaken, we only wrestled like 3 times, maybe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's actually crazy that we only wrestled each other a handful of times. I do remember our last match though. I do recall that our last match was at a UPWA event. In fact, it was the July 4th. Ironically enough, it was the July 4th show for UPWA in Wilmington. And Derek, you've been to UPWA and you've been on the
Have.
you've
Yeah, I've
been on
been
the
on that show.
you've been on that 4th of July show.
Yeah,
So
it's
you know,
I've announced a couple of them shows.
yeah, it is an outdoor show in the middle of July at the beach. So you already know the heat
And
is
Let me,
blasphemous.
and I'm gonna put a topper on that. I'm a ring announcer, so I
You gotta
don't
wear a
wear.
suit.
I don't wear a little bit just like the wrestlers do. Like he wanted me to wear a suit, look the part, and all that. So and I did. I went out there and burned up and broiled out there in a suit.
Well,
For UPWA.
the trade-off though there, Trey, and Dirk, you can also attest to this, is that we're wearing a lot less because we're wearing wrestling gear, but guess what happens when we take a bump and we're landing on that ring mat?
Oh man,
burn.
Our backs are cooking alive. And on top of that, you got to remember, I was a masked wrestler. I had a mask over my entire head. So
At least they couldn't see you wince in pain when you hit the mat and started burning.
oh yeah, that
and
didn't
it
stop
was
them from.
black.
Oh yeah, it was black and red, a black
Yeah.
and red wrestling mask in the middle of July summer heat. But I believe it was me and Trey G. We were match 3, I want to say, and we watched the first 2 guys go out there, and they tried to do a whole bunch of stuff, but they just got overheated, overexhausted, and we were like, okay, that's not a good thing. That's very unsafe to be doing that much in that much heat. So I remember me and Trey G, we were just sitting there putting on our gear, and we both just looked at each other and said, "International NWA spot, go to the finish." And I said, "Yep." And that's what we did, and it worked. Again, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier, Derek, about character work getting over more than moves. Because Trey G is of that old school mentality. Him and Baron learned from George South directly, so they grew up with that and learned with that mindset, and it served them well for the near 50 combined years between the two of them, and that's proof right there that it works.
I don't know how many times I've wrestled Trey G, but Trey G and Cletus T. Bass had a very, very long feud with BD Productions over the Ring Wars Carolina Tag Team titles, which one show in particular I remember where we probably jumped each other like 5 times. It was Hang Time's idea for us to keep just attacking each other in the crowd during intermission. Our match had got no contest, and it was all leading to a ladder match. That,
Oh God.
but yeah, so I don't know how many times I wrestled him, but I do remember this one time where one of his boys kept hanging out of his wrestling trunks for the entire match. and that was a great experience.
Was it on purpose or was it by
No.
by
And it
accident?
kept,
Okay.
yeah, it was completely
Oh,
by
boy.
accident.
Make
But how
make
do
sure
you
you guys
tell
check your gear.
somebody?
Check your gear, guys.
Yeah.
How do you tell somebody when you got your face on the mat and they're grinding your face into the mat? And you got like, hey, bud, like it's kind of popping
Hey, tuck
out.
the boys in.
Right. That part.
Oh man, he's gonna fucking smack me. He's gonna smack me for telling that story.
You better hope he doesn't see this episode before you run into him again.
But no, my Trey G story, how I started with him. I started out with Wrestling with Purpose and Baron Bullard when Baron actually started out his company almost 10 years ago, 9 years ago, I think it is now.
Wow.
Yeah, that WWP has been going on. They actually started just to be a fundraiser, a one-off fundraiser show. And then we did another fundraiser show and come to cultivation now, almost 10 years later. We're still here producing multiple shows during a month now, like 12 months a year. But getting started, I was with Wrestling with Purpose, and Trey G came in, and he was actually running the show out near Clinton, North Carolina, back in 2017. And he asked me, hey, I was brand new, didn't know hardly anybody in wrestling business, So he was like, hey, you want to come be my ring announcer for this show? And I was like, okay, that's cool. Thank you very much. Went out there, had a great time. We had Sergeant Slaughter was on the card. He was there, like in person, doing autograph signing and stuff like that. So, yeah. So it was really cool. It was like one of the first shows that I went to was with Trey G, and here 10 years later, I'm still with him. He's one of my best friends. I love him to death. He's got me on bookings at World Class Elite Wrestling many times. Started out with them. He told me, he's like, just come out here, we'll get you on there as a ring announcer, no problem. So I owe a lot of my ring announcing career to Trey G for helping him actually getting my name out there. And so I just want to say thank you for everything that he's helped me with. Thank you for being a great friend and teaching me stuff here in the wrestling business. So that's my Trey G story. I just want to say thank you, brother. I love you, man.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna miss his in-ring shenanigans, but I'm sure he'll still be around to do other shenanigans.
But he's not done. He's not done yet.
He's done with in-ring.
Not
yet.
Left. He still has 7 matches left in his tenure in the ring. Outside the ring, he might still be here and come around, but he said he's just ready to not have any more matches, and I can understand that. He's been in the wrestling business 30 years. He just passed the 30-year mark here. Oh, actually here in August is his 30-year mark in the business, so after 30 years, he's had a respectable career and he's wrestled a who's who of names in the business. So
Speaking of a who's name in the business, Trey, I'm wondering if you can confirm something here.
Yeah, what you got?
I might have heard through the grapevine that one of the people that's going to be involved in Trey G's last match.
We want to talk about his retirement show.
Yeah, because I heard through the grapevine that a certain someone is going to be making a trek down from AEW to come be at this event.
So we got somebody coming in. It's going to be absolutely fantastic time, and Trey G's had a hand in coming up with this guy in the wrestling business. So I'll go ahead and show it right here. Boom.
Yep, there it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have AEW former tag team champion Dax Harwood is going to be in action. He's not just going to be in the building signing autographs. He's going to be in the main event in a 10-man tag on
this should be
Friday,
good.
August the 21st. The date did get moved. It was the Saturday beforehand. But that day, or August 22nd, it was the night before, the day before, or the day after, excuse me. So
but you know what? I'm actually
Friday.
I'm glad that I'm glad this date change happened. You know why I'm glad this date change happened? Because I unfortunately already had obligations August 22nd to be at the Fort Bragg Next Level Pro Wrestling event that's taking place that Saturday.
As did I.
So I'm happy that this got moved to the 20 because I wouldn't want to miss this. I
You know,
to be able to be
that's
able
not the
to be
match
there
I
for
want to see.
to be able
I
to see Trey G's send off, having names like Dax Harwood, and I remember
That's
seeing
not the
the
name. The name I want to see El Maximo.
Yeah,
Mask versus hair with
mask versus hair.
Aaron
Yeah,
there it
CK.
is.
El Maximo versus Aaron CK in a hair versus mask match.
That's take my
uh,
money. And it's free. It's free, right? They're not even going to
Absolutely
take my
free.
money. They're going to give it to
No,
us for free.
I was about to
no,
say
they're
it says
not.
it right there on the flyer, free admission.
They're going to refuse your money at the door.
So you mean to
Refuse
tell
your
me I
money.
get to watch? You mean to tell me I get to watch one of my good friends in wrestling have a great send off with a bunch of big names in the main event, and I get to watch Aaron CK get his head shaved?
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
sold. I would give you money for
Well,
that, but
wait.
you're telling me I get it for free.
What if Aaron CK defeats El Maximo?
No, that's not gonna
7 foot
happen.
tall.
Yeah,
That's
he's
not gonna
seven
happen.
foot one, 350 pounds.
Nah,
That's
nah.
never
Aaron
going
CK.
to happen.
Look,
El
look.
Maximo's not going to lose his mask. You don't think that could
No,
happen?
that mask is staying, and
Yes.
Aaron CK,
Aaron
aka Brody
CK.
Codes,
Hey, no,
is gonna
you
shave that
leave,
blonde hair.
leave Aaron CK alone. He is a former Wrestle with Purpose Fighting Spirit champion.
Well,
He is a former champion in Wrestling with Purpose. You should have seen him a
all
couple years
joking
ago
aside,
during the War Games match when he flew off the top. It was amazing. Like, don't count Aaron CK out, brother.
with all joking aside, I've seen Aaron jump off of ambulances. I've seen him jump out of balconies. He probably is the most what
An underdog, the biggest underdog in WWP.
legend. He's the big around here. He's been
Local
around
legend.
here, local legend. He's been doing it longer than anyone. He's probably been wrestling now 45 years.
Yeah, 45, 50
50-year
years.
career,
You know,
55-year
Years.
career.
One night I saw him run up a balcony. He ran up the stairs and just jumped. He didn't sell to the crowd. He just ran up and full speed, just run and jumped.
But on a serious note, I will say one thing that I do love about WWP, and Trey, you hinted at this a minute ago. The fact that almost all their shows are almost always some sort of charity
Yes.
benefit for someone in need.
yes,
They've done shows for
everyone, not
yeah,
just some. Every single one of
yeah.
them is a benefit show. We're putting on a show for somebody there in the community. Like, we've done shows for people that's had cancer that needed help with hospital bills.
Mhm.
Every December we do a show for Toys for Tots. We do a show for the Special Olympics every year. We're also in Scotland County. We do shows for Scotland County bands. We do shows for all different kinds of people, so we don't take the money and put it into our pockets. Everything that we take in at the door gets donated right straight to the cause. We don't even walk out the door with it that night.
And then again, that's one of those things that separates WWP from a lot of other companies, and that's one of the things that separates one of the things that NLPW and WWP and a couple of other companies have in common. I feel like, and this is something we can kind of transition into here, kind of the way that independent wrestling has kind of morphed over the years, because I feel like in some ways where you got some companies like that try to hold on to those old school professional mentality ways that have
Mhm.
proven to work and are still continuing to work in this day. For some reason, some companies just like they just decide to say screw that and go with their own different method, and then they get surprised when it doesn't work out. You know what I mean? Like when you have wrestlers coming out and cussing up a storm, and now mom and dad have to have an uncomfortable conversation with little Johnny on the way home when he asks, "Hey, mommy, what does FUCK mean?" you know,
Yeah.
and now mom and dad have to have an uncomfortable conversation with a 5-year-old that a 5-year-old shouldn't be hearing that kind of stuff, or graphic descriptions of how ugly they are, or that they're or the wrestlers throwing some ridiculous insinuation of your dad's not really your dad and all that stuff. And, because what I feel like a lot of these guys don't get with that is that, yeah, cool, you're edgy and cool and you're the talk of the town or on social media for 1 or 2 weeks, but
Mhm.
you're actively barricading and gatekeeping yourself from
Yeah.
being able to perform at like much bigger, much larger companies and promotions, and being able to get your company into certain venues. Like I remember, because right now, Next Level Pro Wrestling, for example, we are the only professional wrestling company that gets to work inside and with Fort Bragg. There's not been wrestling other than Next Level Pro Wrestling inside Fort Bragg
Yep.
for almost 3 decades. So the fact and the reason Next Level was able to get that is because we run on the fact that we are family friendly. We don't throw a bunch of cussing, political nonsense, anything like that. The whole point is that we are there to entertain everyone, that you can come in and pay, at most $12 at the door. And that's if you don't get
$12 at the door.
and that's if you don't get them $8 on the Next Level Pro Wrestling website,
Or
nextlevelprowrestling.com.
$5 at the show previous.
Exactly. If you're
tickets.
Yeah.
$5 tickets, where are you going to get, especially a show the quality of Next Level, where are you going to get a price of $5 for one ticket to get in? So, but that's the thing that helps separate Next Level, is that we're able to get into these kind of venues because of the professional way in which Hang Time conducts and puts on his shows, and stresses that to the talent as well, of do not do anything unprofessional, unbecoming of yourself or Next Level, because it barricades you out. And prime example, we got Fort Bragg, which was great, and I can't wait to go back. Like I said, August 22nd. Another company tried to come in and asked to work Fort Bragg as well. And again, this just goes to show the reputation of Hang Time, Trey's Genovese, and Next Level as a whole, because Trey's Genovese is the main liaison, if you will, for the Fort Bragg connection, because he's a former Army guy, former staff sergeant. And as soon as this other company asked to come in, they were asked 2 questions. One, do you have an insurance policy? Because that's another thing a lot of companies don't have. They don't have an insurance policy. And that's one of those things that'll immediately open a lot of doors for people, is if you have an insurance policy. And the second question they asked was, are you affiliated with Mr. Genovese and Next Level Pro Wrestling? The answer to both questions was no. They immediately turned them away. And that's just
they don't want anybody coming in there and destroying their building or doing anything to harm the reputation of the Army.
Exactly. And if you're not a family friendly and, in that environment, as well as being professional, these bigger, higher end venues and clients aren't going to want to work with you, Like that's one of those things that separates things like WWP, NLPW, and a few like AML from some other companies out there that just like, through sheer, incompetence, if you will, they end up running their own company out of business. And next thing you know, you're smudging the entire account and disappearing off the face of the planet as if you never existed after just a couple of years of trying to start up.
Yeah.
It's very hard to earn, build, and gain a reputation in wrestling, whether it be on an individual or a company base-wide level, but it can be torn down in a matter of seconds.
Well, typically, you see this a lot where a guy won't get as over as he thinks he should get over. So instead of working hard, he just starts his own wrestling company and makes himself champion.
Yep, there you go. Or
I mean, that happens.
Or they think they're a bigger deal because they're the local legend in the 2-3 counties that they run in, but they don't run anywhere else. So they're not known anywhere else. Like one of the biggest examples that I'll use is Javon Evans, or as we knew him, he was Malachi Jeffers. And I even wrestled him in one of his last matches before he went to the PC. And he didn't get picked up just by wrestling across North Carolina. Because you know where the WWE scout found him and noticed him, that got him notoriety to bring him in? It was all the way in California. It was on the complete opposite side of the country. It didn't have anything to do with necessarily with where he trained or who he was working around here in North Carolina. Not that obviously where he trained didn't help. Obviously, training with LeBron Cozone and working with Steve Carino and Colby Carino at PWF and Firestar obviously was the perfect foundation for him to run off of. That's the thing; it's the foundation that your training and who you train with obviously is your foundation. But then you got to take it and run with it. You gotta go places with it. You don't need to just stay in one little area expecting to get picked up by these big companies.
I've noticed over the past maybe 10 years, I joke about it like we call it the wrestling cult, right? Where when people don't expand, when I got trained, I was trained by the main attraction. I had a set price and a set time of training. We trained for 16 months. After the end of that 16 months, they cut us off. You're on your own. Whether you get bookings is up to you. And so we would take whatever bookings we could get. We would reach out. It's all depend on don't take no for an answer. Reach out to everyone. But when you put yourself in that bubble and I'm only working this one promotion, you're damning your career right there. You're never gonna have a
Yeah.
career. You're just going to be stuck in that one spot and you'll get stagnant, right? Like you can't just spend even a year. You don't want to spend a year working the same shows. You want to back in the day, we would do a loop in Ring Wars. We would go to Ring Wars for a couple months, work a couple shows, getting on there, and then we'd go to C4W and we'd, run their little loop, and then we'd move on to UPWA. And we would come in and out of promotions because if you don't leave, people can't miss you. And if they're, it's that mentality of I got to stay in this one spot. And at the same time, that mentality of, hey, if you work for that promotion, you can't work for this promotion. That's stupid. We're all brothers. Well, we all know each other. We're all friends. So my buddy's over there, but I can't talk to him because he wrestles over there. Well, the guy should be able to move from promotion to promotion. It'll make the promotions better and it'll make them better because they get to work different people than what,
Yep. Because that's another problem you run into if everybody just keeps staying in the same area. Yeah, you might be wrestling for 4 or 5 different promotions, but they're all within a 50-mile radius. And guess what? If everyone's working the same promotions, guess what that means? You're going to be wrestling the same people over and over. And the fan base is going to go to
Mhm.
all these, and the local fans are going to go to all these shows because they're all within a close enough mile radius. But then they're just going to be like, well, this is the same show we just saw last week. Why would I want to come see this again? I just saw this match last week and the week before that. Whereas if you start like you said, wrestle at one promotion for a little bit and then go somewhere else. Not just, oh, I went to the promotion down the lane. No, like go to
Travel.
Virginia, go to Tennessee,
Yes.
go to Georgia, go to Florida, you know? Try, and especially when you start getting a reputation for performing at when you'll know you're starting to get yourself over when companies are not only the ones reaching out to you instead of you reaching out to them, but it's
Right.
also reputable companies. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm not trying to talk down on any company, but there's a difference between Next Level Pro Wrestling asking for you to come in and work with them versus Ohio Valley Wrestling asking you to come work for them.
Hmm.
You know? So when you got companies like that, wanting to work with you, you've made something of yourself. And in a similar vein, it's the same with promos. Like I remember when I started, bro, you were cutting 3, 4 promos for every show, minimum,
Yeah.
bare minimum.
Yeah.
And nowadays, a lot of wrestlers, for whatever reason, they don't want to cut promos. And I even remember I saw a social media post. A promoter put out a post simply genuinely asking. It was one of those questionnaire kind of posts, just wanting to see people's genuine answers and reactions. He asked, aside from time constraints, what stops you from cutting a promo? And the first response that I saw was a guy saying, "Oh, well, if I don't know who I'm wrestling, I just don't bother cutting a promo because I feel like the fans don't really want to see and hear the old, hey, catch me here at this place at this time." And to me, all that means is that you're saying that you yourself are not enough to be over. Like, at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter if you know who you're wrestling or not. Because at the end of the day, you could
It
know.
doesn't.
You could sit there and say, like, and Trey G, I did it again. I called you Trey G.
Thank you.
Trey Morgan. You recall this because if you'll recall, the very last Wrestling with Purpose show that I wrestled at, I was advertised to wrestle Johnny Smooth for the Fighting Spirit Championship in a rematch. He wasn't, and that was what I cut the promo on since I already knew and everything. He cut his promo based on that. We had a whole thing going. And then literally day of the show, I find out he wasn't able to make it. He'd had some issues come up at home. He couldn't make it, and I had to wrestle someone else completely different. So that's where that's a double-edged sword. If you sit there and say you know who you're working and you make all your promos on this, because now you're promising a product. You are promising this product for the viewers. So if something, God forbid, does happen, now you can't deliver on it.
But it's also, they always say cards subject to change. But just because you cut those promos for a certain person for a certain date, you can always extend it out. Like, all right, we've cut this, we started it. You couldn't get me. Now you can change up your promo. All right, you ducked me on this day, and you can extend it out. So that wrestler might feel at that time that it's a waste of a promo because something happened, but you can eventually extend it and make it longer and possibly make it a better program.
Yeah, because that's, like I said earlier, with what the storyline between RJ and Cormier, that's exactly what happened, and it turned out to be a blessing in disguise having to postpone it the way we did.
Hey, I'll bring this guy up. The best promos I've seen in a really long time, and it's right there in Next Level. Brooks Montana.
Yes,
Brooks Montana is fantastic.
He does great promo work. And again, kind of like what we've said already about a bunch of guys up there at Next Level, it's all about the character. He just has the perfect condescending character to talk down on you while also pretending to be a great motivator for you. When in reality, he's condescending to you. It's great. I love it. I've told him before, bro, you need to get like a stage set up, like one of those motivational speech programs that they sometimes do, and you need to cut your promo from the stage and just have like a bunch of your friends and family be sitting there as audience members for it and just
you
go
can
off.
Tell he believes it. You can tell that he believes, and that's the trick. You got to believe in yourself.
Exactly.
You can't just and most of the time he's not shooting promos. The past couple I've seen on a direct match, he's just talking. And you can do that. You can just talk for a couple minutes, and then at the end, I'm going to be at this show.
If you yourself are entertaining and are over, it doesn't matter who or what you're talking about. People are going to want to listen. It's the same reason why every time Paul Heyman picks up a microphone or LA Knight picks up a microphone, it doesn't matter what they're going to talk about. They could talk about how the sky is green, but they're so good at talking on a mic, you will sit there for 5, 6, 7 minutes and listen to them talk about why the sky is green. You know?
Yeah.
But speaking of WWE guys, I feel like it's time, let's move up to an international level because things have shaken up in the realm of world wrestling entertainment quite a bit, actually, over the past month or so. Most recently, I figure we might as well go ahead and start with the big one as of this week. Sheamus is gone. Sheamus has left the WWE. Same reason that Xavier and Kofi did. They tried to come in and rearrange his contract and cut his pay after they'd already worked out a deal and he'd signed another contract a year ago. They tried to come in a year, which to me, that is so shady. That is so shady. Like, if you want to try to change a contract or something, bare minimum, at the very least, wait and do that until the current one expires and then try to sit there and negotiate. Don't sit there and try to, because to me, that's just spitting in his face at that point. Because this man has been with WWE for almost 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
He's a 4-time world champion, former United States champion, former tag team champion. No matter where he's been at on the card, he's been able to make it work, make it entertaining, and make it where you're excited to see Sheamus.
Right.
You know?
I understand that, but you also have to look at it as a business point of view. How much has he been on TV in the past 6 months?
Well, that's because he was out with an injury.
Yeah.
He was out with an injury.
But he's out with an injury. You know, they got other people that's come in like Braun Breaker and the guys from the Vision and the Judgment Day. They got all these new guys that's come in. You know, I mean, I hate it for Sheamus, but it sucks. Like, I wouldn't want my money to get cut in half either. But
counterpoint, how great would it have been for a guy like a Braun Breaker, for example, where maybe Braun's out there with the Vision, they're jumping somebody. All of a sudden, you hear the bagpipes. Out comes Sheamus, and him and Braun start feuding and teasing. And imagine how hard-hitting of a match that would be. Sheamus is literally known for putting on, as they say, banger matches, which, again, that's something indie wrestling has completely screwed up the meaning of banger. It doesn't mean doing 1,000 flippy moves. It means he's laying it in, people. He's hitting. Hard hitting.
I think
that's what banger means.
They're not running house shows. So, you know, they cut out house shows and only have TV. House shows is where you learn at, you know, going through the reps. I think with Sheamus going on the indies and New Day going on the indies, that's going to be a chance for them to teach. If they can, you know, get in the right spots. I know AEW's got a lot of younger guys there. TNA's got a lot of.
I feel like Sheamus would fit. Sheamus would fit right in with. I feel like Sheamus would fit right in with AEW. I feel he would fit right in at home there. But you know, Sheamus is not the only vet rumored to potentially at least be having some issues. Granted, this is still just rumor at the moment, but I've heard it floating around more than enough to where I know it's like, okay, usually sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire, but you got to see if it's true or not. But CM Punk, again, I don't want to put too much credibility on it because it's not been confirmed, but rumor has it he's not happy with TKO either.
There's definitely something going on there. He hasn't been on TV since the night after Mania.
Yeah, and I don't know if maybe it's because they're unhappy with him because of that, you know, pipe bomb 2.0 that he dropped on them whenever they were leading into him versus Roman at WrestleMania. You know, when he
could it be injuries? Maybe he was at home healing up injuries.
It could be.
Yeah, but at the same time, you also got to remember, and I'm not disputing how great CM Punk is as a wrestler. He's obviously he lives up to his moniker. He's
the best in the world.
He does. He's the best on the mic, one of the best in the ring, one of the best at telling stories. But, and again, you can't really hold it against him because, as I've heard in wrestling many, many times, it is a cutthroat business, and CM Punk is going to look out for him. CM Punk is going to look out for CM Punk. And it's not the first time he's had issues in one form or another with WWE. And as that happened last time, he left. Now, is that happening right now? I don't know. Is it all just, you know, as they say?
They're going to be in Chicago tonight.
That is true. That is true.
They're going to be in Chicago.
We're recording
in Chicago tonight, or are they in Chicago
tonight?
Oh, okay.
They're in Chicago tonight. So and the rumor is
tonight.
Because we're recording this right now. It's about 6:35 Eastern Standard Time. So Raw has not kicked off on the air for us.
We haven't seen Raw. We don't know what's going on yet.
Yeah. So by the time this episode comes out, everything we're probably saying about this is probably going to already be confirmed, or we're going to look stupid anyway. But right now, the current going rumor, and this is another leading into another topic that I want to talk about that could be very, very bad in my opinion. But the going rumor right now is that Cody is going to dethrone Sami Zayn for the WWE Undisputed Championship merely a week after he won it. And as soon as he wins, Punk's going to come out, face down Cody, and they're going to go into a Cody versus CM Punk storyline to lead into SummerSlam. And to me, that is the absolute wrong thing to do. Like, you just had this guy who has busted his ass in not just WWE, but all of all over the independents, as El Generico, when he came into WWE as Sami Zayn, the underdog from the underground, having to
And
go through the
the
horrible.
bloodline stuff, dude. The bloodline
Oh
stuff.
God, the
It was the
bloodline
best
stuff.
part of the show.
The bloodline stuff
Yeah.
made Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn helped make the bloodline. That was because before that, Sami was having to go through the terrible Vince McMahon booking of having him be a wild, wacky conspiracy theorist, literally handing over one of his Intercontinental title wins to Shinsuke Nakamura and being his manager. I'm like, bro, why would you have a man as talented as Sami Zayn be anyone's manager? Like that alone was already wacky. But then, he started getting in with the bloodline. That stuff became the hottest thing going on wrestling television. Every time the bloodline came out, you were ready to see what was going to happen. It led to one of the most unintentional viral wrestling moments when he dropped the. Lately, he just hasn't been very Usi. Bro, the dude literally gave Jey Uso the greatest merch marketing campaign of his life out of making the entire bloodline break character in the ring. Because again, Sammy's just that good. And then he finally given his flowers, given his due. He wins in my opinion, which was
a little overdue?
Yes.
Oh, it's a lot overdue.
Yeah, they should have done it like a year ago.
But especially granted, I know obviously for the story, it made a lot more sense to do Cody versus Roman, at WrestleMania 40. But now, how crazy would it have been to, especially as hot as Sami was after turning on Roman in the Bloodline, how crazy would it have been to actually have Sami win at the Elimination Chamber in his hometown in Canada? He goes into WrestleMania 40 as the champion, and Cody comes in as the challenger from winning the Royal Rumble. And the one-on-one match that those two guys they can put on. Imagine that, though.
I think the crowd would have got louder. I think I don't know. Don't get me wrong. Roman is great. And I'm not just talking about promos. In ring, the match Roman and Punk had this past year.
Oh God, that was
five-star match
of all WrestleMania, both nights. That was the best match.
But Sammy's good too. Sammy's just as good. He can make you feel, right?
And that's what you're supposed to do in wrestling. They should make you feel something,
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just watching a dude go in a wrestling ring wearing tights, doing a bunch of ridiculously crazy acrobatic maneuvers and whatnot. But to give Sami his moment at Night of Champions in a surprise, because no one expected Sami to win. We were all sitting here thinking, yeah, Cody's going to win, and then he's going to go into SummerSlam, feuding with Punk probably. Nobody expected Sami to win here. We were all sitting here thinking, yeah, this is a Cody retention, leading into him versus Punk at SummerSlam, yada, yada, yada. So when that roll-up happened and the 3 count hit, I was sitting down watching, and I was genuinely like, holy, they actually did it? But then I start hearing the rumors, and then SmackDown almost basically confirmed it when they said Cody is the #1 contender after beating Jey Uso. And then I'm like, oh, great. They're just going to have Sami drop the title right back. And to me, that's just – you're going to turn a lot of people off because I'm going to be real. Cody versus Punk does not need the WWE title in the picture.
No.
Those two guys –
the question I have is Saudi Arabia pay WWE for Sami Zayn to win the championship?
Honestly, that's not even something I considered, but honestly, you might have a point there.
Yeah, they could have.
Because Sami Zayn is Saudi Arabia is basically that's basically his second hometown. Outside of Canada, Saudi Arabia probably gives Sami the biggest crowd reactions out of any wrestling crowd ever.
But now think about what Sami can do with this, though. So just to say, if he was to drop the title tonight to Cody on Monday Night Raw, then he's got a way to chase for the championship. And what do you got coming up in April? SummerSlam. You got Royal Rumble in January. Sami wins the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania in April. But he wins in January. Where's WrestleMania at? back in Saudi Arabia for 2 nights. So this is a way for Sami Zayn to possibly start chasing the championship and going into WrestleMania and him win and have his big WrestleMania payoff by winning the championship.
That's one possibility, but see, I also heard the rumor.
Bloom would be
because
off the roads by then. It'd be
But
too
there's
late.
also another possibility that also doesn't end well for Sami Zayn if he does make it past Cody Rhodes tonight on Raw. Because I've also heard another rumor, because there's a Saturday Night Live main
Yeah.
event. There's a Saturday night main
I heard
event
that
that's
rumor.
taking place, and the rumor is that Brock Lesnar is going to somehow get a championship match. He's going to take the title from Sami Zayn at Night of Champion. Saturday night main event. And then Oba versus Brock in Hell in a Cell is going to be for the WWE title because Oba won King of the Ring. And to me, that's also a storyline that does not need the
Does
WWE
not.
Championship.
Yeah.
And Oba, quite frankly, Oba Femi does not need the WWE title right now. I feel like it's
No.
too soon. It's way too soon.
No.
You know,
No.
because
No.
and honestly, you've already got a perfect storyline set up for Oba Femi. Right.
The title at this time for that storyline, the title doesn't matter.
I don't get the whole Oba Femi thing. I think he's the
You don't get
it? No, I don't.
I'll tell you what it is. In a lot of
He's
ways, and I've
big.
seen this comparison. No, it's not just that he's big. Because, one, he's a big man who can work. There's a lot of big men in wrestling who are 300, 400 pounds. Okay, cool. How many of them can work like Oba Femi works? He's like another, in a lot of ways, there's a reason why he's paired with Brock Lesnar right now, you know, wrestling the storyline that he's been working lately. And that's because he's a lot like Brock was back when Brock first started. He does things that a man his size should not be able to do. And not only that, and this is where the comparisons to The Undertaker have come into play, because I've seen this comparison made a lot in comments on social media. They compare him to having aura on level with The Undertaker. Because in a similar vein, when The Undertaker's gong hit, and you saw the slow light, the purple light filter come in, the smoke, and you just see the silhouette of The Undertaker come out, when you hear that first war chant of when Oba Femi's theme song starts, and then there's that pause before the song starts up, the crowd gets hyped up, and you just see that, giant silhouette coming through the light and the smoke. And again, also something else that he does, that freaking the chant, the strut that he does. And I saw where he went on Stephanie's podcast and said he got the idea from Ric Flair to do that. Like, he saw Ric Flair doing a strut. He said, "How can I do a strut? How many people strut down to the ring?" You know. And then he gets in the ring and he hits that pose. The light only hits him from behind. You just see the silhouette of this monstrosity in the ring. And then the way they present him in matches
Out of
way they
all
present
the call-ups, we had, those couple of call-ups here recently, Oba being one, but Carmelo Hayes is fantastic.
Oh, dude, he was an underrated call up in my opinion, because he's kind of been overshadowed by Trick Williams.
He has. Yeah.
Not that Trick isn't great. Yeah. I love what Trick is doing with the U.S. title and Lil Yachty. Like, that's been some of the best wrestling and entertainment on SmackDown. Him coming in with the lemon pepper steppers.
I think that's hilarious. I love that. But Oba, I just don't get.
But I mean, and honestly, the perfect storyline for Oba is right there, because he doesn't need the title now. Oba winning the title, I feel that needs to happen at Mania, and it doesn't need to be the WWE title. It needs to be the world title, and he needs to beat Roman for it, because you've already got the perfect setup, right? You've got
I don't
Oba
think
right
you can
now.
do that.
No, you can do
King of the Ring give him a championship match.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Here's how you get around
he
that.
could have a 30-minute main event.
Here's how you get around it.
Be like 5 minutes.
No, actually, he can go that long. Do you remember his triple threat match with Trick Williams and Javon Evans in NXT? Those three guys went for 25, 30 minutes, and they tore the house down. It was a phenomenal match. But you could have Oba try to win the title and Bloodline screw him over, right? Boom, there goes his King of the Ring opportunity. But you can still protect Oba by having it be a dirty finish and whatnot. And then now Oba's got to go to the back of the line and chase again. And in the meantime, maybe have him feud with, maybe do a feud like with the Vision, and maybe Bronson Reed comes back and he feuds with Bronson Reed. That'd be another good, fun big man match for Oba and Bronson. I feel like that'd be entertaining. And then by the time they, wrap up that storyline, boom, it's Rumble time. This time, have Oba win the Rumble. Maybe make him go all the way. Have him start from number 1 and clear the whole field. Go from beginning to end. He goes on to WrestleMania and he picks Roman Reigns and he beats Roman for the world title at Mania. I feel that'd be a lot more meaningful than them randomly throwing the WWE Championship into the middle of the Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi storyline.
Yeah, that belt and that storyline's not needed for those two.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
but unfortunately,
unfortunately, a second Brock match. When he beat Brock at Mania, I think that was enough. I think that right there put the rub on him, and I would just be smashing him over guys right now.
Well, see, I had the opposite opinion, and I even talked about this to a couple of my coworkers who also follow wrestling. They were saying the same thing because they also believed that Brock had retired at Mania. But I was over here saying the whole time, like from the beginning, I was like, no, they need to do a best of 3. Imagine how much more it adds to Oba's stock if they do a best of 3 and Oba wins 2 out of 3 matches with Brock Lesnar. How many people can say they had a best of 3 with Brock and came out on the positive ratio of that match?
Not
many people. Cody Rhodes did.
Brock already did the duty of putting Oba over. Made him look like a star. Like he had no more.
Now, how much bigger of a star? How much bigger of a star do you think Oba will be after he's beaten Brock Lesnar inside Hell in a Cell, a match type which, correct me if I'm wrong, Brock's never lost a Hell in a Cell match?
It's not going to be the same as it was when he could have had one match, put Brock out, and then forever he says, well, I'm the one that put Brock Lesnar out and he's not coming back. That's going to be more than, I beat Brock Lesnar 2 out of 3 times.
Because I wouldn't have beat Oba. I wouldn't have beat Oba at all. I would have. I think that loss to Brock, that second match, I think that took a little bit of it away. I wouldn't have beat Oba.
You can make that argument, but I feel like losing to Brock Lesnar is like that doesn't put as much
it's
of a
reasonable.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a difference between him losing to Brock Lesnar versus say Chad Gable. Not that Chad Gable's not a fantastic wrestler and that him and Oba couldn't have a fantastic match, but losing Brock Lesnar to Brock Lesnar, I don't think that hurts any wrestler's credibility.
Brock Lesnar just seen a lot of money that could be made with those two over 3 matches, and they're like, let's go put a big ass payday in our pockets and let's just have fun with it.
And it's still going to be beneficial for Oba in the long run, even if for some ungodly reason they decide to throw us a curveball again and be like, actually, Brock wins Hell in a Cell. But to even say you have one victory over Brock Lesnar in WWE says something, because he doesn't lay down for a lot of people.
Brock's not losing to just anybody.
Yeah, like there's the list of people that have outright beaten Brock Lesnar and pinned him. That's a very, very short list.
Speaking of people I would put over in the Rumble, that would be Chad Gable. Chad Gable, man,
he's earned
character-wise in the ring. Oh my God, he's good. He's a 10 in every category, but I guess he's just too short.
I feel like his work as El Grande Americano is what finally put him on the map to a lot of people because, I mean, yeah, people knew he was a talented, Olympic caliber wrestler and all that, but
he became popular when he came back from his injury.
Yeah, and I don't think people realized. People didn't realize just how good he was until he started working as El Grande Americano, because like the stuff he did in like Money in the Bank and the feud he had with Rey Mysterio and the other luchadors over on Raw and stuff, like it was just some of the best matches ever. Plus the amazing storytelling and the way they just leaned all the way into it, and having Chad actually do Spanish promos, creating this completely false persona to the point everyone was like, "No, that's El Grande Americano. That's not Chad Gable. We love El Grande Americano."
But he did start doing that. It was to mock the luchadors. It wasn't to actually be one. It was to mock
And
the
it was funny.
luchadors, and it was
But
funny.
it got over.
And then
In
he
much
got
the
hurt, and
in
then
much the
Kaiser
same
took
way.
over and like actually made it a serious character.
But I mean, in much the same way that the tribal chief Roman Reigns character was a heel character, has he really changed much at all since he was heel and when he came back as a babyface?
No,
He's still the
not at all.
exact same guy,
Mm-mm.
but now he's just a babyface now. Like nothing about him necessarily changed. It's just
He's
that
not, I
when
don't
the
even think he's really a babyface. He might be more of a tweener because he can go either way. He can go
it
fight
honestly
Seth
just comes down,
Rollins, or
and
he can go fight CM Punk, or he
I mean,
can get.
it
Oh
really
my
just
God,
comes
how
down
cool would
to
that be?
it just really comes down to the crowd, I feel like, because in a lot of ways the crowd can determine the show, because you can try to force someone to be a heel all day long, but if they have that natural babyface and people want to cheer them, it's just not going to work, Same thing in reverse. When they tried making the big dog Roman Reigns a babyface, you could tell that wasn't genuine for Roman. You could tell that wasn't who he really was. And on top of that, that was during the peak of Vince McMahon booking, where he wouldn't even let guys cut their own promo. He literally was having his writers write promos for other people, And to me, that's one of the dumbest things you can ever do in wrestling, because at the end of the day, I might know and roughly understand the fallen artist Derek Martin, but I can't sit here and write a promo and speak for him. And that's what I'll tell my guys in any storyline I'm writing, and I need them to get some point across. I don't tell them, say this, and this. I just tell them, hey, guys, look, so this is the angle we're taking the storyline. I just need you to hit this point, and this point. Just cover them and get to them however you need. But
Well, some people need their line. The Rock didn't write his own promos. It was the guy that still writes his promos. What's that guy's name? He brought him back to WWE. Uh,
Bronco works.
yes. He writes all the Rock's promos. So some guys need lines, and some guys just can't
well,
do it.
he's gone more Hollywood, so of course he needs lines. But then you got guys like John Cena and The Miz or LA Knight, where you just give them a topic.
Yeah, they can just
and
go.
they will, and to me, those are the best promos. Or correction, some of the best. In my opinion, the best promo is one that toes the line between a shoot and a work. Because obviously back in the day, everyone thought everything that happened in wrestling was, legit. Obviously, in today's modern age with social media, internet, everyone knows that it's scripted. It's not fake, people. Wrestling is not fake. It's scripted. It's not fake. But everyone knows that in this day and age. So how do you get people interested if they know it's a scripted event? You toe the line. And to me, the best person who does that is Paul Heyman. And I remember seeing him doing an interview, I think it was Inside the Ropes, when he was talking about that shoot promo that he did on Vince McMahon during the Invasion angle storyline. And he went deep into shooting on Vince McMahon, saying that you took Hulk Hogan's blood and you built Titan Towers. You stole Shawn Michaels' smile, and then you bought yourself an airplane with WWF alumni. And you're like, holy gee, this isn't a... Paul is shooting on Vince right now, But he didn't just shoot to shoot. He also said you can't just shoot to shoot, because then at that point, nobody really cares about that either. But if you take the shoot and work it into the context of the story that you're trying to tell, now people don't know which is which. And now they're left questioning, wait, how much of this is a work and how much of this is a shoot? Because I can't tell, but it's got me invested. Like,
As long as
the best
Bray
example of that,
Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, it didn't have to be a shoot per se, but you believed what he said. You got
Yes.
into
Yeah.
his world. He brought you into his world. And he had that control there. It wasn't script. I know he, did make it up off the top. He had an idea of where he was going. But that kind of stuff that makes you believe that's all you need. You don't.
I mean, in a way, it's still kind of a work shoot because at the end of the day, like you said, you're bringing them into your world. You know what I mean? So a lot of like people like Bray, when they cut those kind of promos, I feel like he's saying how he felt about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Not necessarily about people in the back, but like about life in general. And you believed him. And he was sharing some real world feelings and experience he had, and he tied it into the story he might have been trying to tell you, and it made it that much more believable to where you wanted to hang on every word that he said, you know? But
Dusty Rhodes, the Dusty Rhodes promo,
hard times,
the
daddy.
Hard Times promo. At that time, man, he connected on that level of people losing their jobs because a machine took your
Oh yeah.
job, right?
Another
Like,
a good modern example of that today, honestly, on the heel side of things, is honestly MJF, dude. Like
oh, he,
I fully believe MJF is the best wrestler of the day and age. Of this
I
day
think
and
he's the
age,
best promo ever.
the best promo, one of the best workers. Like, in my opinion, MJF is what's holding up AEW for the most part. Not that AEW is
Yeah.
not a great company. Not
Yeah,
that it's not got
yeah.
plenty of talent and all that. But I feel like MJF is the focal point. Because think about it, when AEW started, they leaned on the whole idea of 4 pillars, right? Out of those 4 pillars, how many of them are still really there and really relevant?
Shoot. That's it.
2. And one of those,
Yep.
again, not knocking on Darby Allin, but I'm sorry, but I did not believe Darby Allin as world champion.
I didn't
And
either.
like,
It was,
especially because again, it kind of feels like he's leaning on what ridiculous, crazy spot can I do this time to get the people's attention? Because if Darby Allin, the person, can't get your attention and you have to resort to jumping off ladders
Mhm.
through glass and landing on car hoods and stuff, to me that means you're not an engaging character. MJF is an engaging character, and he's also one of those guys, like I mentioned before, he can work the shoot. In my opinion, probably one of my favorite promos in all of modern wrestling that I've ever seen was the promo segment between MJF and William Regal leading into MJF's first
yes.
world title.
Oh my
That
God.
promo, that was a master class in how to cut a promo.
Yep.
On both sides, because it just reminded everyone, hey, y'all forgot William Regal's also that good, because MJF was the heel, but the way he cut, but you started to root. But when he told that legitimate story about how he, basically got turned away by WWE out of nowhere, basically for nothing, and it was a real thing that happened, and it turned the crowd on William Regal, who's supposed to be the babyface in this scenario. But then William Regal, being the masterclass promo he is, working a shoot right back at him, got the crowd right back with him. And now it's like, yes, we're invested in both of these guys. Both of these guys have a point. To the point where it led to, essentially, William Regal is the reason MJF kind of evolved the character into the devil, because that's where that kind of became a thing.
It was.
Where William said, if you want to be the devil, then do what you got to do, basically. And from that moment on, MJF just started calling himself the devil, and it worked perfectly. Especially when he starts feuding, when he started becoming the devil of pro wrestling, and Kenny Omega had always been referred to as the god of pro wrestling. I mean, that storyline just kind of, we saw it, play out in a world title feud a few months ago, and I mean, it worked for all the right reasons, because when you have that perfect foil.
Kenny would come over to WWE at some point. I know it's pretty much too late now.
See, I always felt the opposite.
Right?
I always felt the opposite, simply because just like they did with Shinsuke Nakamura, they would have told Kenny to tone down his more hard-hitting Japanese style that he picked up over in New Japan. And that's the reason the people who knew about Shinsuke loved him, was because of how hard-hitting and stiff and, brutal his matches were. But then when you saw Shinsuke Nakamura come to WWE and perform in WWE, you could tell it was a night and day difference.
But it added years to his career, not
It
doing
did.
the hard hitting stuff. And I think Kenny was good enough and is still good enough as an entertainer that he could, lessen his style back a little bit, amped up promos and stuff a little more, and been in a position of a Roman Reigns. I think at one time, man, Kenny was the best wrestler in the world.
Oh, there's no doubt. At one point in time, especially in like the mid 2010s and stuff. Oh yeah, you could definitely make the argument that Kenny Omega was the number one wrestler at that time in the world. He was, and even to this day still is that damn good. There's not many wrestlers that you can say that about. Especially today. But I say the part back to what I was saying about MJF being the reason, that the thing that's holding AEW together right now, is because this is the one thing that I feel separates WWE from AEW, and depending on how you look at it, it's a positive and a negative at the same time, is that AEW doesn't really have much structure. Like yes, they have a boss in Tony Khan, but he's not a leader. He doesn't put his foot down. And I feel like a prime example of that is what happened, with CM Punk and Jack Perry. If that same scenario played out in WWE, one, it would have never got that far. Two, the car would have never been out there to begin with. And the second Jack Perry started, showing his ass a little bit, an executive in WWE, maybe even Triple H himself, would have just said, "Get out of my building. We don't need you here. You're going to listen and do what you're told."
He wouldn't have cussed out Tony Schiavone in WWE. That would have never happened. He
No,
wouldn't
that
have
would
been
have
cussing
never
at Michael Cole. Right?
No, that would have never happened in WWE. But the fact that it got to the point where the first time the executors came to CM Punk and said, "This is the situation with Jack Perry. Can you please come in and step in?" One, you shouldn't have to go to your talent to tell them to handle an issue like that. You should be able to handle it yourself and just tell the guy, "Well, then you're not going to perform. Put your foot down." But they didn't. They were scared and they ran to CM Punk. CM Punk, professionally, in my opinion, told him, "Look, just don't do this, man. They're asking you not to." Tony said no. The executor's saying no. Now I'm saying no. So just don't do it. And then he goes out there, does the spot anyway, while also throwing a shoot line in Punk's direction, saying, "Cry me a river." I'm like, bro, you're just asking to get jumped at that point. And
CM Punk's the one that ended up leaving. It wasn't even Perry at the end of the
day. Exactly. Like, that's the problem. And that really, for a long time, that was really biting AEW in the backside, because not only did you get rid of your most popular star that was bringing you in the most money, but on top of that, you thought it would be a good idea. And this is where, like I was saying before, you played the footage. You made it worse, because all you did was confirm everything CM Punk said. You validated everything he said, and now everyone looked at you, and now you've got, whipped cream on your face because you just pied yourself in the face a second time.
Now you look goofy.
Now you look extra stupid right now. And that's why I say, honestly, I feel like if it hadn't have been for guys like Christian Cage, MJF, and Adam Copeland coming to AEW and doing some of the best work that not just AEW but wrestling in general has seen in some time, AEW would have been in dire straits, especially because that's around the same time that the Bloodline storyline was the hottest thing in wrestling at the time. CM Punk came back to WWE to much ridiculous fanfare and applause. We got one of the greatest, the greatest rivalries ever, with Seth versus Punk and McIntyre versus Punk. Those two feuds were absolutely phenomenal. So you just handed WWE all this great content. You shot yourself in the foot, and again, now granted, things are turning back around, you could say, because TKO, has completely, we've already hit on a bunch of the stuff with how TKO has forced WWE to, corporatize a lot more, and you know, some of the stuff that they've been doing.
Yeah, and speaking of AEW, you had they got a show coming up. What they got All In London coming up, and
Yeah.
they just had Will Ospreay just won the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament.
Yep.
So now he gets a championship match against MJF there
And that's a
in
match.
London.
I may not be necessarily the biggest fan of Will Ospreay's wrestling style, but I can't deny how good of a wrestler he is.
But think about this also. Will Ospreay has beat MJF in London before for a championship at All In. So this isn't the first time they've met there. They were there in 2024 in London, and Will Ospreay come out on top for that championship. So now he's challenging for the world title in AEW against MJF. So I would have to put my money on Will Ospreay.
I don't know, man. I feel like as
I don't
hot
think
as
Will
hot as
Ospreay can draw
MJF is,
money.
as hot as MJF is, though, honestly, I feel like you need to keep the title on him. To me, he's just too big of a star. He's way too big of a star not to be your top guy with the title. Because, like I said, I still feel like it was a mistake to take the title off of him and put it on Darby Allin.
It was, yeah.
Because,
It was.
they always say that, and again, there's nothing wrong with this. It's just there's certain people on a wrestling card that believably you don't necessarily see being the world champion, especially when the person in question is way scrawnier, smaller, skinnier. There's a difference between a Darby Allin and a Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson, despite being a smaller athlete, still looked the part of a world champion. He wrestled like a world champion. He carried himself like a world champion, even when he wasn't a world champion. And that's what helps make someone credible and believable. You have to carry yourself like a champion if you want people to believe you can actually be a champion. And that's what separates other underdogs like a Sami Zayn, a Bryan Danielson, and AJ Styles versus a Darby Allin. So to me, it was a mistake to take the title off MJF in the first place. But I don't know.
Darby did climb Everest.
Okay.
Yeah, he climbed Mount Everest. And then he got hit by a bus.
Yeah. I feel like that dude is just a walking car crash derby.
Well, climbing Everest now is kind of like a scam. They charge you like 200 grand and you go up with guides and, you just kind of go up in a single file line, It's a big scam to get your money.
Yeah.
Anybody can climb Mount Everest nowadays.
Yes. No, for real. That's how it is. People that have never climbed mountains before pay the 200 grand and they just take them up the mountain.
Yeah.
You can still die.
The elevation and stuff still gets you.
I was about to say, you'll still be short of breath and stuff, but
he was probably using supplemental oxygen and,
but
had the star treatment.
Anyway, it's almost time for Monday Night Raw here, and I think the three of us have some homework to do, so we can get ready for the next episode here. But I don't know. I feel like this was a great first episode back.
For sure. For sure.
And we're definitely going to be coming back around probably sometime next week. We'll record another episode, see how right or wrong we were about some of the predictions with WWE and AEW. We'll obviously, fill you in on stuff that's happened at Next Level Pro Wrestling this coming Saturday. Remember, July 11th, True Vine Ministries in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Next Level Pro Wrestling. We're coming back. Tickets are still
Go ahead.
Tickets are still only $8 on the website, nextlevelprowrestling.com. They're going to be $12 at the door. So just make sure y'all show up, get your tickets. It's going to be great, and we hope to see all of you guys there for that as well. And be sure to come and check out and subscribe to the Carolina Wrestling Podcast. That way you can stay up to date on every episode. We're going to be putting these episodes out on YouTube. When we get a Spotify account set up and everything, they're going to go out on Spotify as well. And we're going to
Yeah.
have plenty of clips on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, whole 9 yards. So
Yeah, just check us out. Look up at Carolina Wrestling Podcast on all your social media. That's the easiest way that you're going to find all of us on all of it: YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. Probably going to get a Twitch here soon. You know, we're going to be on all the platforms that we can find to get up here and
Proof
get all the
Social.
stuff out for you.
oh yeah. But yeah, gentlemen, this was a great first episode back, and everyone watching and listening at home, we hope you'll tune in for the next episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all, ladies and gentlemen, for coming on the
Bye.
Carolina Wrestling Podcast. Derk, Joel, thank you guys for being here on the first episode of New Carolina Wrestling Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for being here. We enjoyed this. We hope you enjoyed it as well. We'll see you on the next show.
It's the Carolina Wrestling Podcast.